who missed the first webinar, they're all recorded, so you can have a chance to maybe go back and look at some of those the previous recordings as well as tonight's, obviously. So before I hand you over to Nicole, there was just a couple of things. Nicole and I were chatting kind of as Nicole was working on the presentation for tonight. And some of the things that I would maybe say, encourage you to keep in mind as we're going through tonight's presentation is how the information tonight would apply specifically to your horse. And when I say that, it's really in the context of knowing your horse, paying attention to the little things, understanding their routine, understanding the things that work for them, the things that don't, and really being able to tailor a feeding program, a nutrition program to suit them and their personality and their habits. The second thing that I would say is to be patient. If there's anything that you learn from this evening or takeaways that you want to start to apply to your own routine, it's to give it time. It's so natural, and we can all be so easily kind of guilty of trying something, but maybe only giving it a couple of days and jumping to the next thing, trying to find the solution to whatever challenge you might face with your horse. But it's to be patient. It's to allow some of the routine changes to settle in and to give it time, and with that comes the results. So just to keep those two pieces in mind. But I'm going to hand over to Nicole now. Nicole is going to take us through tonight's presentation, and we really appreciate that. Nicole, over to you.
Yeah, so hi everyone, and thank you for tuning in this evening. So today's webinar, we're going to discuss feeding the performance thoroughbred. So it's a follow-up from the last webinar where we looked at all the basics around nutrition. So this is really how good nutrition can help support optimal health and performance. So the following webinar is going to cover these topics: the importance of a balanced diet, body condition scoring, feeding for weight gain, your coat and hoof health, different energy sources, feeding for different temperaments, protein, so that leads into your top line muscle development, antioxidants in the exercising horse, digestive health, your gastric ulcers, feeding for recovery, and then administering your electrolytes, and that whole piece around recovery and the importance of electrolytes, water. So the diet of the modern competition horse must meet the physical demands of training, competitions, you've got frequent travel, and then your recovery piece. So performance horses have very specific nutritional requirements. The diet overall obviously is important. It needs to be formulated appropriately. But as you move up the levels where the margins of difference are so much more important, nutritional fine-tuning can be the difference between success or not. So it's important to know your horse. They're all individuals at the end of the day. And the attention to detail and fine-tuning to your own horse in your desired discipline is absolutely key. So whether you're a seasoned competitor or you're preparing for your first show or your first outing, good nutrition helps support optimal health and performance. So we're going to take a look at the different elements to your performance thoroughbred's diet. So this slide shows a breakdown of the essential nutrients needed for performance. So your balanced diet, that's incorporating your vitamins and minerals, your fuel sources. So we're going to look at that there, either your cereals, or you can go down the route of your oils, fibers, your digestive health. So this covers your forage, your hay, your haylage, chaff, your addition of, say, a gastric supplement or a gut health supplement, electrolytes, omega-3s. So that's your Kentucky Karen oil, your linseed oil, and their anti-inflammatory effects. Joint and bone health, which is particularly important at the moment with the ground being so hard, and just helping that whole longevity of the joint and in the athletic horse. Your antioxidants, your B vitamins, your blood tonics, so that covers your iron, your B12, your copper, and then your amino acids. So these are your protein, your building blocks of protein. So your muscle, top line, they're also key in recovery and as an energy source. So the starting point is a balanced diet and meeting the horse's requirements for the level of the work they're doing. So as a horse workload increases, the requirements for calories, proteins, vitamins, and minerals also increases. So failing to provide these essential nutrients can lead to problems such as lack of muscle development, poor coat, hoof quality, and or underperformance. So it's important to check the feeding guidelines, make sure you're feeding your horse optimal levels of micronutrients. So if you find you're feeding significantly less than the amount that's recommended, you can always top up your horse's micronutrient intake by adding a balancer or a vitamin mineral supplement to his feed. Or you may find that you actually need to increase the feeding rate to meet requirements. So that's where our whole nutrition team is on board. If you do have any questions about your feeding rate or whether you're feeding enough for what your horse is doing, just get in touch with us and we can have a look at the whole diet. So your micronutrients, these are also known as your vitamins and minerals. They're essential for many bodily functions, including energy metabolism, your bone strength, recovery. Even minor deficiencies and imbalances can result in a horse feeling lethargic or even lead to poor performance and poor recovery rates. So for example, copper is a mineral that's needed throughout the horse's life. It's involved in tissue elasticity. It also helps with overall coat condition, pigmentation. And then vitamin E, that's an antioxidant and particularly important as the horse is in higher levels of work. So key take-home message here is that as your workload increases, so does your horse's nutritional requirements. So weigh your feed scoop, know how much you're feeding. This is so valuable. It can help you adjust the feeding rates according to your competition season or even your summer versus winter feeding. So knowing how much is in your scoop and how much is in your meal sizes will help you adjust your feeding rates accordingly. So the most suitable feed will depend on multiple factors. So your age, your weight, your breed type, your body condition of the horse, the level of exercise and the discipline you're aiming for, the quality of forage in the diet. So this is covering your hay, your haylage, grazing, chaff, beet pulp, temperament. So what type of energy are you looking for? Any nutritional concerns to note, and their environment. So whether they're stable to living out, and this can change from winter to summer. Then your supplements can help target specific issues such as poor appetite, hoof quality, digestive health, top line support. So all of these help give the horse their best chance at performing for you. So forage tested, as mentioned in our last webinar, that should be part of your routine management as well. This is so important. It tells you a lot about what your horse needs. So forage is an extremely important element of the diet, and it's covered in more detail in the April webinar if you want to go back and have a look at that. So assessing your horse's body condition, an underweight horse is unlikely to have the strength to perform to the best of their ability. Likewise, being overweight can have a significant effect on performance, and it can have many health implications such as excessive joint strain, especially as you move up the levels. So knowing your horse's body condition score will help you determine if you're feeding too much, too little, or just the right amount of calories. So ideally, you're aiming to body condition score your horse on a regular basis, at least every 3 weeks at the beginning. So a healthy fat covering, so a score of 3 out of 5, with the ribs visible, but easily felt with a light touch of pressure. So using your hands to actually feel over the horse that you can feel the ribs are there. So regularly weighing, even taking photos, assessing your horse's body condition will help you spot any weight loss early. So loss of body fat should not be confused with the loss of muscle mass. So your horse may also look like it's losing condition if it's losing muscle mass or if its muscle mass is reducing. For example, if you're beginning your retraining journey, you may give your thoroughbred a break if it's coming straight out of training. So he may look like he goes backwards before building up the new muscle groups and gaining as he works in a new way. Another would be due to injury, maybe lack of adequate exercise, or if the diet doesn't provide sufficient nutrients such as your high quality proteins or vitamins and minerals to help maintain and support those muscles to build. Knowing if your horse is losing body fat or is losing muscle mass can help you determine the cause, and then you can address the issue. So this is really important. And top line shouldn't be confused with fat. So they're two entirely different tissues and one can't be turned into another. So unlike muscle, fat won't aid your horse's movement. In fact, an overweight horse is likely to be less athletic and will tire more quickly. So these are things just to bear in mind when you're looking at your horse's condition. It'll take at least 3 to 4 weeks before owners can see noticeable weight gain. So again, it's important to be consistent and patient with your ex-race horse. So these things do take time. So many excitable horses are poor doers. They tend to burn off more energy than a laid back individual. So the first steps to addressing unwanted weight loss is to determine the possible causes. So your parasite burdens, poor dental condition, maybe your equine gastric ulcer syndrome. So they're key things to look at initially. So alongside a feeding route regime, it's also vital to ensure your horse is given plenty of forage. This is to help maintain a healthy digestive system and potentially look at a gut supplement. So we'll look at that later in the slides. A horse will maintain condition when the calorie intake matches the horse's energy output. So if your horse is using up more energy than it's taking in, the balance will shift and your horse will start to lose weight. So that's reverting back to making sure your balanced diet is there and you're meeting your horse's requirements. So almost all ingredients in the bag will contribute to your calorie content, including your cereals, fibers, oils. Of these ingredients, oils is your most calorific. So that provides nearly 2.5 times the calories of cereals. Plus it's non-heating, which is a great bonus. So for those excitable types, it's really important to look for a diet or a feed formulated that's high in oil, high in fibers, that'll promote condition without that fizzy energy. So those calories for weight gain are the same as calories for energy. So you're looking for a way to promote your weight gain without that heating energy. So if you're already on a conditioning feed and your horse still needs some extra help in gaining weight, our Define and Shine pellet can be added as a top dress. So this is a high calorie rich pellet. It's rich in key amino acids and your omega-3 oils, and it's ideal for horses that require extra calories for weight gain in small volumes and those needing additional support as well for muscle and top line development. So this can be an option and top dress over your existing diet. So getting that show ring glow and looking towards your co-condition, your hoof health, the foundation is your balanced diet, and then you can supplement on top to help enhance. So your copper and zinc, they play a part in several key body functions, including coat pigmentation. So a horse that's low in copper and zinc will show it in their coats with a darker colour. And these horses will appear more rusty, a light coloured, or yellow or brassy if they're copper deficient. So grazing and hay are typically low in zinc and copper, so supplementation is often necessary there. Supplementing with oil, it'll help supple the skin, reduce flakiness and dander, and it adds moisture to the skin. So Kentucky Caron oil, which is your emulsified linseed oil, which is the same family as your flaxseed oil, they're rich in omega-3s, which have a natural anti-inflammatory property. So not only will this oil support the skin and coat health, but it'll also have the potential benefits of effects on your digestive health, joint health, your immune function. And along with all these benefits, Kentucky Caron oil is also non-heating. So it's a source of calories and beneficial for those horses that need to gain more weight without that extra fizz or without having to increase your feeding rate. So optimal hoof health for horses can normally be achieved by the combination of good husbandry, appropriate nutrition, and then your routine farrier attention. So deprived of nutrients, the hoof grows more slowly and the horn is produced will be weaker and of poorer quality. So the key nutrients to help support hoof health are your biotin, your zinc, and your methionine, which is an amino acid. So these are key when you're looking at a hoof supplement. The hoof wall is 93% protein on a dry matter basis. So if your protein requirements in your diet aren't met, your hoof growth and quality is going to be compromised. So your starting point is making sure that this whole diet is balanced. So taking a look now at your energy sources. So the main source of energy in the diet is fibers, oils, starches. Fiber and oil are referred to as your slow release energy, while your sugar and starch referred to as your quick release energy. So they're all important when it comes to the athletic performance, and it's important to make sure the energy levels in the diet are appropriate for the work demands and they suit the individual horse's need. So, for example, a horse that's prone to being overly excitable will benefit from a diet that provides energy predominantly from fiber and oil, and these are known as your slow release energy sources. Too much energy and your control and focus could be lost, but too little energy and your horse might lack that impulsion and presence required in the arena. So there's two key parts to consider here. Firstly, the amount of energy or the amount of calorie your horse is receiving, and does that match its energy output? And the second thing, are you feeding the appropriate type of energy to that horse? So whether you're heading for the show ring for showing or dressage, or you're going down the eventing route and jumping and you want a bit more quick energy. So this slide here just shows your energy and diet requirements, and that as you increase your workload, so does your energy requirements. So another reminder to weigh your feed scoop, know how much you're feeding, and as you increase your workload, make sure that you're matching your energy and your diet is being adjusted accordingly. So when we're looking at feeding for temperament, although the diet alone can't change your horse's actual temperament, it can have a significant effect on its behavior. So considering your horse's temperament is important in choosing the most suitable diet. Again, it's about knowing your individual horse. So for horses that tend to be overly excitable, anxious, choosing that low starch feed and providing a non-heating source of energy like super fibers and oils is preferable. So the likes of the Performacare Balancer, the Horsecare Ultra Cubes, these are grain-free, very low in starch, and ideal for horses that are reactive or stressy. If you have a thoroughbred that's sensible and you're looking for a little bit more self-carriage, expression without the excitable behavior, then choose feeds that have a variety of energy sources. So such as your digestible fibers, your oils, and some cooked cereal grains. So for example, the Horsecare 10, the Horsecare 14, these are performance-based feeds that have a lower inclusion of grain compared to, say, a competition cube or mix, but provides just enough fast release energy to give a lift and presence, while you have the benefits of your digestible fibers and oils to provide a substantial amount of slow release to support stamina and to keep an even temperament there. So there is options. And then we have our cereal-based feeds, so the competition range, and they're useful for horses that are very laid back, maybe lacking forwardness, and these provide a quick release energy and help give your horse that bit of oomph there. So these are kind of your 3 building blocks. And if you're unsure, you can start on the cereal grain-free diet, and there is options to move up. So it's like the steps of the stairs. You can step up to a kind of a high fiber, high oil, low starch type diet, and then move your way up. So if you've already made changes to your horse's diet, and are managing their exercise levels, environment, trying to minimize stress, anxiety, but they're still quite reactive, then it might be worth considering a specific calming supplement. So there's a number of calmers on the market, and we recommend trying a calmer that uses a combination of ingredients. So the likes of your magnesium, your B vitamins, your L-tryptophan, they're key ingredients that you're looking for when you're looking at the back of your label for the calmers. So some horses, especially those that are naturally anxious or excitable, require additional nutritional support for the digestive health. So that's looking towards a gut supplement, and we'll discuss that in more detail later. So now looking at protein. So protein is essential for performance as it's needed to build, repair tissues, including muscle. So the building blocks of protein are your amino acids. They're digested, absorbed by the horse, and incorporated into developing muscle. So some amino acids are described as limiting for growth. So without them, muscle development can't happen. And the most well-known limiting amino acid is your lysine. So contrary to popular belief, it's not responsible for excitability, nervousness in the horse, and the whole misconception around protein causing excitability stems from the fact that traditionally high protein feeds are often high in starch. But now we know that it's the starch rather than the protein that can trigger that excitability. If you were to limit the protein intake, it won't reduce excitability and may in fact result in issues such as lack of muscle development, a weakened immune system, poor hoof, hair quality. So it's a really key element to the diet. Having a well-defined top line will mean that the horse has developed the muscles they need and have the power to move, to jump, to perform well. So having good muscle tone also helps improve the horse's self-carriage. So feed alone won't build top line. Exercise will activate the muscle conditioning, while the diet will provide correct levels of calories, quality protein to build and repair a healthy muscular system. So a typical example of a horse struggling for top line is a racehorse turned riding horse. So its difference in riding styles between the racehorse and a leisure or sport horse means that the horse will have to will have been used to using or working in an outline that doesn't necessarily enhance the development of the muscles over the neck and back. And they'll need a structured exercise program that's focusing on developing these muscles. Young horses will start in the same type of training routine. So also factors such as ill-fitting saddles, musculoskeletal issues, health problems such as gastric ulcers, they can all affect how the horse moves and therefore how they develop their muscle. So from a dietary point of view, it could be that your horse is simply not getting enough calories, that they need a higher protein feed, or that they need a feed that contains better quality protein. So not all protein sources are equal in quality. You're really looking for your soybean meal, so that because it has the highest lysine profile, which is your limiting key amino acid. So building top line doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It takes consistent exercise. Again, think about your own body. You don't get a six-pack from doing 30 sit-ups, but if you do 30 sit-ups for a lengthy period of time alongside a balanced diet, your abdominal muscles will be stronger and more defined. So it's the same principle with the horse. Looking at feed options for building top line, top dressing with a performance balancer, that can be very beneficial if you're looking to aid both weight gain and top line development. Then maybe towards the define and shine, that's the best option. Define and shine is rich in your branch chain amino acids. So along with exercise, that'll help your horse build on top line and limit any muscle soreness and preserve the muscle mass there. Another way to provide additional quality protein to your diet is through supplementing. So products such as Muscle Prep, Muscle Max are really beneficial. So Muscle Prep focuses on helping the body to support initial muscle development. And then Muscle Max is focusing on supporting recovery from exercise and maintaining and maximizing the muscle health. So they have different roles, but very useful during pre-season prep and then your competition season. So the next slide is looking at antioxidants in the exercising horse. So antioxidant supplementation during periods of intense exercise, so your training routines, competition, can be highly beneficial for optimizing performance. So the term antioxidant refers to a group of chemicals that stop a process called oxidation. So while exercising, a horse's muscles work harder, the rate of cellular metabolism and oxygen consumption rises. This is why you see an increase in respiratory rate when you increase exercise. So the increase in that cellular metabolism also results in more rapid free radical production, especially in the muscles. So the whole process results in what we call oxidative stress. And when this becomes excessive, you have muscle stiffness and damage occurs. So vitamin E, alongside your other antioxidants, vitamin C, selenium, they mop up these free radicals and they help your horse to recover from strenuous exercise. So horses with higher workloads require more vitamin E than a horse at rest. So your feed will provide optimal levels of vitamin E on a day-to-day basis, but supplementing vitamin E before and after exercise during periods of strenuous work, so this is particularly for our event horses, are enormously beneficial for performance and also for your recovery. So there's products like your Muscle Max, your Refuel, there's electrolytes, Equilite G, that contain antioxidants. So there's ways of supplementing it in your diet at key periods. So this could be just for a focus during your competition season when you know you're going to be out eventing back to back or jumping, or even showing if there's a concentrated period of time where you're going to be exercising your horse and doing a lot of work. So leading on into our digestive health. So the microbiome has been a topic of great interest in humans and across animal species. So that's including the horse, and there's a huge emphasis on the role of the microbiome on equine health and nutrition. So researchers have investigated the connection between the hindgut microbiome and various gastrointestinal disorders and diseases in the horse, including obesity, weight loss, equine metabolic syndrome, laminitis, colic. A gut-brain axis has been identified, wherein microbial population can influence different behaviors in the horse and conditions such as anxiety. So there are many factors that can stress our horse's digestive system, including travel, intense exercise, dietary management and changes, and your high concentrate diets. So the horse's ability to resist health issues associated with these stressors are directly related to the function of their hindgut. So horses by nature are continuous grazers. So typically they're going to eat small amounts of high fiber food throughout the day, and their digestive tract has evolved to function in this way. So any deviation away from this, example, large meals, poorly cooked or processed starch ingredients, a low fiber intake, that can predispose the horse to poor digestive health and function. So this in turn will have a negative effect on overall health, the immune status, maybe the horse gaining weight or its muscle development, temperament, performance, recovery. So it's really key. Discomfort even caused by gastric ulcer syndrome, that can also affect how the horse uses and carries himself. So if that's left unaddressed, it can affect their whole body shape. So a better understanding of the responses of the hindgut microbes to these stressors and dietary changes can lead to more targeted feed management strategies. So an example being supplementing with prebiotics, probiotics, and now postbiotics that will promote the health of hindgut and help that hindgut microbial community flourish there. So the next slide is going to look at our gastric ulcers. So equine gastric ulcer syndrome is a common problem associated with performance horses. In actively racing thoroughbreds, the prevalence is up to 100%. So effective treatment of ulcers focuses on increasing the pH of the stomach by inhibiting or buffering the stomach acid, which provides a better environment for ulcer healing. So usually medications such as Gastrogard, which is your omeprazole, or Peptazole, which is prescribed by the vet, and then dietary and environmental management. So your vet will diagnose the gastric ulcers, including the type, the grade, via a gastroscope. So it's a small camera that goes down the throat into the stomach and can be assessed then. So in terms of your dietary management, to help reduce the risk of gastric ulcers, this largely will comprise of increasing your chewing activity. So you want to increase saliva production. So therefore your ad lib access to forage is the most, it's the best option there. So studies have reported less incidence in gastric ulcers in horses fed an alfalfa type hay. So that's high in calcium and protein compared to say a normal hay. So there's different ways of incorporating types of forage in your diet, including chaffs, bee pulp, hay, haylage, grazing, just increasing that chew activity. So reducing the starch in the diet has also been scientifically proven to help reduce the incidence of gastric ulcers. And there are many signs. So the signs your horse may have ulcers will present itself in different ways. So it could be down to poor performance, poor appetite, poor body condition and weight loss. So if you find your diet is right, but your horse is not improving, this could be a sign that your horse needs to be scoped and managed correctly to help promote a healthy stomach environment and focus on that whole hindgut digestive health. So this in turn will help the horse optimize the feed utilization. So everything you're putting into the horse can absorb and use to gain weight, to build muscle. So that can be a real telltale sign. Poor coat condition, colic, loose droppings, reactions to tightening the girth, behavioral changes, teeth grinding. So we have a supplement in the Forens range, so it's NutriGuard, and it's been shown to promote a better healing environment within the stomach. So this would be a good supplement to go on to after you've done your treatment of omeprazole or Peptazole. The combination of prebiotics, postbiotics, beta-glucans, B vitamins, amino acids are all contained in NutriGuard, and that'll help promote the growth of gut-friendly bacteria to aid digestion and in turn help that whole feed utilization. So in situations where your horse tucks up post-traveling or post-event competition, or you're just missing that middle or drop in the gut, NutriGuard can make a huge difference here. And we've had amazing feedback of customers on how that was the missing piece of the puzzle. So this is a really key element when looking and feeding the performance horse. So now looking towards recovery. So the time taken to replenish electrolytes has a direct impact on the time taken for the horse to recover. So fueling for recovery after exercise is vital when horses are required to compete in multiple classes or tests or over a period of a day or even a weekend, so a 3-day event, or if you're at a show and you're doing multiple classes on the same day. Rehydration is one of the most important aspects of recovery, and a major part of this is the replenishment of your electrolytes. B vitamins are also very important. They're important in the release of energy from food and have many roles in nerve transmission, immunity, red blood cell production. And horses that don't get enough B vitamins often lose their appetite, and deficiencies can impact energy levels, performance. So B vitamins are naturally produced in the horse's hindgut. So linking back to that importance of digestive health, the stress through to training, frequent travel, regular competitions can affect your B vitamin production. So if you have a horse that's even a fussy eater, or you notice that they have a poor appetite, consider feeding a B vitamin supplement. This can be hugely beneficial. Then you have your antioxidants. So we spoke about this earlier, and their role in oxidative stress and eliminating any muscle stiffness. And then your branched chain amino acids. So when the muscles are worked hard over a period of time, the body will naturally look to utilize those branched chain amino acids as an energy source, and it starts to break down the muscle tissue. So that increases the risk of soreness and prolonged recovery. So having those in your diet as part of your recovery piece will help your horse bounce back and keep those muscles loose, and that you're ready to, look into your next step of training and look towards your next competition or show. So replacing lost electrolytes post-exercise is vital for optimal health and performance, delayed onset of fatigue, a quicker post-exercise recovery. Your equine sweat is hypertonic. So this means there's a greater concentration of electrolytes exists in sweat than in fluid circulating within the body. So higher quantities of electrolytes are lost through sweat. So this is really important to note. Performance horses will benefit from an inclusion of electrolytes in their diet during times of travel, heavy exercise, or work in hot conditions. So especially as the weather gets good and horses are sweating a lot more. So electrolytes are essential minerals that are involved in keeping your muscles and nerves functioning correctly. So when in peak training or over a competition season, in-feed supplementation is hugely beneficial, and it ensures a readily supply of these essential salts. An imbalance or a depletion of electrolytes can lead to muscle cramps, reduced stamina, lethargic behavior, tying up, or even poor exercise recovery. So the likes of your refuel gels, they're really easy and they're convenient to give. It's concentrated, perfect balance of electrolytes in there. You have your B vitamins, antioxidants. So post-competition, post-event, once your horse has cooled down, had a drink of water, that's a really good way of making sure that your horse has your electrolytes. So when administering electrolytes, there's different tips around this. So it's not possible to load electrolytes by feeding daily. The body will excrete what it doesn't need. Preloading electrolytes, so 1 to 4 hours before a competition, that can increase time to onset of fatigue by up to 23%. So it's really important on how you use these electrolytes and the timing of it. So use the electrolytes during the cooling down process, and that can decrease recovery times from 12 to 24 hours to only 45 minutes. A balance between water and electrolyte concentration is essential, so it's vital that electrolytes are administered with water. Rehydrating the horse with water alone will also delay the hydration process, so the body monitors the control of fluid volume by responding to the sodium concentration. So ideally, your horse has finished its exercise, you'll let it cool down, it'll have a drink of water, and then you administer your electrolytes. So water is the overlooked element of the diet. And if the horse wants to drink following exercise, then let them drink, because the positive effects of rehydration are greater than the benefits associated with not allowing your horse drink until it's completely cooled down. So there is lots of people who ask, how soon can you give your water or offer your horse water post-exercise? But drinking water will help lower your horse's core body temperature following exercise. There's research shown that giving slightly salty water as the first water for your horse has access, then followed by giving access to like a plain water, helps achieve a higher fluid intake and faster rates of rehydration. So if your horse is not fond of drinking away from home, there is ways you can train the horse at home to, say, take a more salty water or take a water with a slight flavor in it, and then replicate that while you're away at the show. So feeding the older competition horse, so horses over the age of 15 are considered veterans, and more horses remain physically active and healthy well into their late teens, especially those national hunt thoroughbreds that are retired and well into their teen years. So because your horse has turned 15 doesn't mean you need to change anything or switch to a geriatric diet plan. It's important to feed to that horse's individual requirements. So older horses are more prone to clinical conditions such as your dental abnormalities, maybe alterations to respiratory functions. There's endocrine metabolic diseases, osteoarthritis. But if your older horse is maintaining good body condition, has no apparent age-related or clinically important disorders, then the advice is to continue on your current management regime. So that's assuming that that diet is fully balanced. Many older horses will have a longer recovery time post-competition, and this becomes particularly relevant when horses travel away from home for a show for several days, or they're required to compete in several competitions over the course of a day. So that focus on aiding recovery is important, especially for the older horse. Maintaining joint health will prolong the athletic life of the horse and help improve performance. So the hard, unyielding summer ground at the moment, this will also place extra stress on your horse's joints, and feeding a joint supplement will help keep your horse comfortable, moving at its best. So that's just something to consider as well for the older competition horse. So getting show ring ready, with so many of you competing at the Treo Eile, Tattersall's qualifiers, and potentially your eye on the Dublin Horse Show as well, you're all striving to achieve the right balance for your horse in the show ring. So having a quality feed program is essential to having the horses looking and feeling their best. So the condition of your horse's coat, skin, hoofs are all a reflection of the overall health of the animal. So we've looked at our copper for coat pigmentation, the different Caron oil, linseed oil for that whole skin moisture, the anti-inflammatory effects. Condition, you're looking for your non-heating, high-calorie ingredients, so focusing on your oils, your fibres, and management. So the workload to be exercising that top line, dental care, worming. So these are all key elements to fine-tuning and getting the finished product and getting your horse show ring ready. So in summary, achieving top performance is all about balance. So know your horse and understand his individual needs. Every horse is different, and it's the minor changes you make to your horse's diet and exercise regime that can make the difference. So a reminder too that it will take time, so patience is key. And it's also important to be consistent with your feed and supplement plan. It takes time for your horse to absorb and utilize new feeding practices. So this won't happen overnight. So it's important to be patient. So we're going to finish here with a checklist and key aspects to consider. So firstly, are you feeding optimal levels of suitable forage? So this is your horse living out? Is it grazing? Has it access to grazing 24/7? Or if it is stabled, do you have ad lib forage available? Is your horse maintaining a healthy weight? What type of energy suits your horse best? So looking at those two different types of energy sources. Are you feeding enough quality protein? Are the vitamin and mineral requirements being met? And is the diet balanced? Could a supplement help address a specific concern? And are you supplementing electrolytes when needed? So these are all things to consider, and like a checklist that you can go through. If you have any questions and want to go through your horse's diet in more detail, we have an Ask Our Expert form on our website, or you can ring into the Red Mills number and speak with one of us, and we can go through the whole diet and look at the full picture. But thank you for listening this evening, and I hope that you found it beneficial. And if there's any take-home messages there that might relate to your individual horse. But thank you very much for tuning in.
That's super, Nicole. Thank you so much for that. Just going through some of the chat here, and we've just had a couple of questions, if that's okay, Nicole.
Yeah.
One of them is, you were mentioning about the electrolytes and just how that can promote recovery. Say if you're away at a competition or you're away at a show, do you administer the electrolytes like before you travel, or can you wait till you get home and then they've access to water and stuff like that? Like by the delay in the giving of the electrolytes with the trip home, is that going to be a negative thing, or is that the right thing to do?
Yeah, so if you had a weekend show planned, or if you were traveling to a show and the horse was being stabled overnight, the first way you could do it is you could actually give your, say if we're talking about our pre-fuel gels, you could use your refuel gel ahead of traveling. So once your horse has had a drink of water, administering electrolyte is safe. So you could give it pre-traveling to make sure it's in the system. This will just aid the horse, especially if they're nervous traveling, or if you have a long journey, it'll just help that when you take them out the following morning, they're fresh. They've felt the benefits of the electrolytes and the antioxidants for their whole muscle stiffness. And post-exercise, so you've competed in your competition and the horse is hot, so you bring them back to their stable, you cool them down, and give them a wash, offer them water. So ideally the horse will drink, and then you would administer your electrolyte. So if you can give your electrolyte before you head home, so if you're traveling home that evening and give your electrolyte before you leave the show, then it has time to process. And the sooner you give it, the quicker the recovery rates.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And then another question that's just come in relation to sort of the body condition scoring and monitoring changes and progress. If people don't have access, say, to like a weighbridge or something like that, what are some practical tips for just, I suppose, monitoring the progression or the changes in people's horses?
Yeah, so you can use a weigh tape. They're not entirely accurate, but if you have an initial weight and you weigh them in 2 weeks' time, you'll see you'll either have gained or lost. So it'll give you a start point at the beginning, and then you can measure again. Taking photos are really beneficial. So when you're looking at the same horse every day, sometimes you don't notice the changes. So taking an initial picture, and even if you can take it in the same spot at the same sort of stance, you can really see the change in the horse. And having that body condition score, so even if you take a screenshot on your phone and seeing where your horse sits and aiming for that 3 out of 5 is another useful tip. So you don't need to know the exact weight of your horse on a weighbridge, but if you can kind of visually see, and even using your hand, kind of touch, feel, see if you can feel the ribs. It's usually for a horse that's carrying a crest or that, to really feel where the fat deposits are. But when you're gaining weight, run your hand over them and have a feel of everything. But they would be kind of more practical ways if you don't have access to a weighbridge.
Ideal. That's perfect. And then, is it possible to say, I suppose, mix your feeds? So for example, if as you mentioned at the start, your horse's workload is starting to increase, there's more competitions, you're doing more lessons. Do you have to kind of swap from one product to the other, or can you say mix, say, horse products within the horse care range?
Yeah, so when you're mixing feeds, so especially you kind of want to make sure that your vitamin mineral pack is the same. So if you were to mix a feed from one brand versus another, you could slightly disrupt the mineral balance depending on what's in each. But if you were staying, say, within your horse care range and you were on your horse care ultra, so all the horse care range contain that care package. And you're on your horse care ultra, but you want slightly more energy, or you're doing a bit more work and feel, okay, I need to match this workload and I want to add a little bit of cereal grain, there is the possibility to include, say, a horse care 10 or a horse care 14. So you could do half and half. So if you're feeding a scoop morning and evening, your morning feed could be horse care ultra, your evening feed could be horse care 10. So they're all within the same care package, so you're not disrupting any of the vitamin mineral balances within the feeds, but what you're doing is you're adding a tiny bit of grain to the diet and without changing too much. Equally, like your horse care 14, so it could be a way of adding a bit of oats, barley, maize without doing one huge change. So there is ways of adjusting, and that's where it's useful to get in touch, and there is ways around formulating a diet to suit that individual horse. So it depends on what that horse needs and whether you want to make one like a jump up, you think, right, it definitely needs more energy, or I want to do it gradually and I'm not sure whether that's too much or too little. There's ways of doing it in between.
And I suppose that goes back to, I suppose, what we were talking about at the start, kind of knowing your horse and knowing what's normal in terms of energy. Is it too much or is it too little? And being able to notice the effects of any of the tweaks or changes that that you're making to the diet. No, that's really helpful, Nicole. Thank you for that. You mentioned as well there, just in relation to the gut health. We've had some feedback in since NutriGuard has come onto the market, you know, of people who've been, say, using the Red Mills and the foreign products, and you know, have been happy with their horses, but there seems to have just been a missing link. But since the introduction of the NutriGuard product, they're seeing a real kind of utilization of the feed and supplements. Just, is that got to tell us a little bit more about just the importance of, say, a kind of a more positive gut and stomach environment for the horses, plus the utilization then of the feed that's going into them?
Yeah, so with if you have your whole diet right and you've gone through everything, but the horse is not gaining weight, or maybe is uncomfortable performing, or you just don't have that drop in the middle, or they're constantly tucked up. Sometimes, you know, what you're putting in, you should be seeing the results. And if you're not, it could be that the environment within, maybe the stomach has gastric ulcers, or in the hindgut, there's a disruption there, isn't getting fully absorbed, utilized, digested. So focusing on, firstly, if you do suspect ulcers, going to your vet, having those treated, and secondly, then managing that. So including a gut supplement, and even if you do scope clear of ulcers, maybe focusing on digestive health. So having that high fiber element to your diet, including a gut supplement, so your prebiotics, your postbiotics there, will help promote a healthy growth of good bacteria. So when everything is working correctly, you have an increase in B vitamins, that'll stimulate appetite, the horse will eat more, the whole cycle will be a lot better. So the gut is kind of, once that area is working correctly and the stomach is right, everything kind of falls into place. So sometimes that can be linked, especially with people that are feeding the correct wills. So it's just a really important area. It's what the horse is all focused around, that hindgut fermenter. So that's where adding in a gut supplement can be really beneficial.
That's perfect. Thank you, Nicole. They're just a few of the questions we've had through. And as you said, if anyone else has any other questions or would like to speak to a member of the nutrition team, you can visit the redmillshorse.com website. You can visit the section there where you can ask the experts. We also have numerous articles there as well as the recordings of all of the webinars that we have done so far. So make sure to check out the website to ask our experts, and we look forward to welcoming everyone to the final webinar in a couple of weeks' time. But Nicole, thank you so much for your time, and thank you, Melanie, and the team at Treo Eile, and best of luck to everyone for the season ahead. Thanks a million.